Hey you guys, so I want to talk to you today about something called an exponential function. That's going to be the next type of function we're talking about. So an exponential function is just another type of function, and like most functions, it has a standard form, which is the most basic form that this function can take. So for an exponential function, our standard form is going to be f of x equals a to the power of x. F of x equals a to the power of x. And in this function, a is going to be a number, so when you actually see the function, we won't have the letter a here, we would have a number in its place. So a is a number, and we call this number the base. So as I'm talking about these problems, I'm going to refer to this as a base a. So this is an exponential function with the base, which is a in this problem. So the base is this number right here, the number that has an exponent attached to it. And then x here is our variable, and it's going to be the exponent. So the variable is the exponent in these problems. So normally we're used to seeing something like x squared, where x is the base and the 2 is the exponent. The number is the exponent. For an exponential function, the variable has to be in your power. Your x has to be a part of the power. Now we have two rules that have to apply to the base here. So our rules for our base, first of all, a has to be greater than 0, which means the base has to be positive. So the base is a positive number. So that's just one of the rules we have for the base of an exponential function. It can't be a negative number. It has to be positive, and it can't equal 0, so it has to be greater than 0. And then the second rule is that the base cannot equal 1. A does not equal 1. So we can't have a 1 right here, and we can't have anything that's equal to 0 or less than 0. So the base cannot equal 1. So those are our two rules for the most basic form of an exponential function, that standard form of an exponential function. And remember, an exponential function is a function where the variable is the exponent. That's our definition. A function where the variable is the exponent. So a couple of examples for you guys to see of what makes an exponential function. Because we're not going to see it with an a here, that a is going to be replaced with a number. So an example of an exponential function, if we had the function f of x equals 3 to the negative 4x, this would be an exponential function. F of x equals 3 to the negative 4x. In this problem, the base is 3, so I'll write that here as a note. The base is 3. And then our exponent is negative 4x. So if we look, this does follow our rules, which is why it's exponential. A is greater than 0 because 3 is greater than 0. It's a positive number. And then our base does not equal 1. 3 does not equal 1. So this would be an exponential function. Now I do want to show you an example of something that's not an exponential function. So f of x equals negative 2 to the power of x. This would not be an exponential function. And the reason why it's not an exponential function, if we look at our base here, our base, which is the number that has the exponent on it, our base is negative 2. And if we look at our rules up here, the first rule is the base has to be positive. It has to be greater than 0. Well, negative 2 is not greater than 0, it's negative. So because of that, this function doesn't match the rules for an exponential function. So this is not exponential. So our second function would not be exponential. But we said the first function over here was exponential. All right. So that's going to be the beginning, our very first introduction to exponential functions. So I want you to get familiar with recognizing that rule and that definition. So on Edge Elastic, there's going to be a really short assignment, just a couple of questions, doing what we did on these last two examples, figuring out whether something is exponential or not based on this definition and these rules that we have here. So go ahead and get logged on to Edge Elastic when you get a chance and work through those problems and tell me whether or not those functions are going to be considered exponential functions based on those definitions.